Hello again, YouTube. This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm back with another Scribblenauts Unlimited commentary where I just create your favorite characters and objects in the Scribblenauts Unlimited Object Editor, a feature only available on the Wii U and PC versions of this game. Now, many of you know that I just create whatever is most popular, most requested by the most amount of different viewers each week, but I do want to say that this week is just a little bit different. We're still going to tally what was the most requested, and we're still going to make it, but today's episode had to be created in advance because I've had an extremely busy week, and it continues as you're seeing this episode. I'm also going to do something that I hardly ever do, which is something fun for myself. I'm going to be seeing one of my favorite bands of all time live. Well, it'll have already happened actually by the time this episode is uploaded on Sunday, but that band is Kiss. I do hope that everyone out there realizes I have no free time in general. I don't just go do things for fun very often unless it's with my wife, which I obviously do enjoy, but there's no time for just me unless it's business or planned out down to the minute. Consider you're watching this episode today, it's going to be like 20 minutes or so. That's more free time than I probably have in a day. So anyway, I had to bypass the most popular, most requested item just for this week and take solace in the fact that I could have just uploaded nothing, but instead I've decided to create Kiss here in Scribblenauts, which I think is amazing. And here's the kicker, people have requested this before several times over the last year or two, so it actually isn't something that's just completely unwanted or anything. I think it'll be fun. You saw that we started off with Nick Southam, that's a 5th Cell member, as the source object. We put down a golden egg on the belly right there. Kiss has some really crazy and out there outfits, as you guys can imagine if you've ever seen the band at all, any pictures. You know, they look kind of goofy and fun like that. So that golden egg is the color of Paul Stanley's skin, because we're creating Paul Stanley first. He's the front man, singer-guitarist. We've also typed in a necklace, and we put 2 jellyfish upper tentacle pieces, you know, kind of close to the jellyfish's body. That's just a black line straight up. Jellyfish tentacle pieces are underneath that necklace, and they're hanging down like little strings because there are the string ties right there for his shirt, or I guess we should say lack of shirt. We used a hemisphere, which is like that half sphere shape, so if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, you will need to type in Hemisphere to get it. In Scribblenauts Unlimited, you could just go to the geometry library of shapes, grab it from there, but that's on the side underneath his arm here, the arm I would say that's in front that we can see on our left side. Just now we've grabbed a 29-page library arm shape from the 20th page. Hopefully we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I reference the 29-page library in like every commentary. It's very rare that we don't use a shape from there. We're actually typing in Mark right now because Mark Morocco is a member of the 5th Cell team as well, and the female version of him, we can take the legs right here. Obviously, it's okay to use a female leg or arm or anything like that on a male character or person. You can basically use any stamp in this game to convey anything as long as you feel that it looks accurate and depicts what you're trying to depict. So other than that, we did use catfish, fins, and things for the designs on his belt right there, and we typed in a grenadier, or grenadier if you want to pronounce it that way. The human, obviously, for the arms, just took the back arm of that person and put it on here because Paul Stanley doesn't have any sleeves or anything like that in his costume. Now just typing in nursery fish, we can take the little fin on the side of the nursery fish, and that'll actually be for these stars, because you notice that we did do the star, of course that's the star from space, 3 times on the front leg. That would be to our left. It's Paul Stanley's right leg. Well, it's like if you imagine you're kind of looking at the character right now from a somewhat side angle, but also somewhat facing us, so in between those 2 planes of vision. So that nursery fish fin is basically like the side of the stars on the other side of his pants. And we also took a 29-page library shape again. It's from the 23rd page. This will be like these shin guards or shin designs here on his crazy boots. All the members of Kiss have these platform boots or heeled shoes, basically. Again, they're certainly unconventional in the way they dress for sure. And we just put stars on the heels. You type in heels, and you get those shoes that we got down for Paul Stanley's feet right there. But this is the properties editor now, where you can just edit health and all this sorts of information, like what objects react to it as. So right now I like to read background information and fun facts whenever we're at this kind of part of the video for this series. And now I obviously hope most of you know Kiss is an American rock group formed in the 70s, but I will also say Kiss is definitely in my top 5 or maybe even top 3 favorite groups of all time. Social Distortion and the Misfits are also in that list, but we won't get into all of that. As is obvious with Kiss, Kiss, though. They have makeup and costumes that allow them to take on a persona of comic book-like characters, even having the nicknames of the Star Child for singer-guitarist Paul Stanley, whom we've just created, the Demon for bassist-singer Gene Simmons, the Spaceman or Space Ace for guitarist Tommy Thayer, and the Catman for drummer Eric Singer. And those names, of course, are for the current lineup of the band at the time of this recording. I will end off these fun facts just by saying that Kiss has sold more than 100 million records worldwide, being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014, although lead singer Paul Stanley says, quote, "The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame hates us. You've got to know that when it takes 14 years to get invited to a party, they don't want you at the party," end quote. And I do agree with what he's saying, I think, but as he then mentions, it was the fans, it was the people who decided and fought in droves to say that Kiss should be honored after all of their success, and thankfully, in my opinion, they are. And I will be seeing them live for the first time in my life, as I might have mentioned already, in Thackerville, Oklahoma on Friday, February 24th, and I am excited. So we started off with a head as the source object for, of course, creating Paul Stanley's head now. A vegetarian, the female, we can use as kind of the bulk or the main part of his head right here. A star, again from space, we're going to use that as, of course, Paul Stanley is the Star Child. He has the makeup little star over one of his eyes. We'll take a goldfish now and get that bottom fin, paint it all the way bleach white, basically as white as you can get it, and we've just typed in a nose and lips, and of course the Kiss members, like Paul Stanley for example, he's got this red, bright red lipstick. Surely you've noticed that. Some of them have black lipstick, but Paul Stanley's got the red. We did PEA, which is a P for both of the eyes, and we've named our object, and of course in the properties editor, if you ever have a head and a body as two separate objects, you want to then script the head object under the equipment tab, check off this third circle down on the bottom half of the screen that says can be worn on the face like glasses. That will put the head in mostly the correct spot that we want it in. You'll likely need to do a little bit of adjusting, but the reason that you would ever create a head and a body separately in this game is that it does have a limit to how many stamp pieces you can put on. A stamp is just anything that you're using, any object that you type in to create your object overall. So there is a limit, and you often can't get all of the details of a character just by having the head and the body as one thing. So it's kind of a workaround to create the head and the body separately. We've got a bomb disposal expert as the source object for the next character, which is going to be Gene Simmons. Probably, I would say, one of the most well-known characters of Kiss because, of course, people recall him with his giant tongue sticking it out as he plays. He's, of course, the bassist and one of the singers. So we've got Ian Good for the arms because Ian Good has these kind of spiked shoulder pads, and Gene Simmons actually has very similar spiked shoulder pads like that, so I thought it was a good kind of look for this. Of course, Ian Good is yet another Fifth Cell member, so I know that some of these Fifth Cell people are going to look differently if you're playing in Scribblenauts Unmasked, because they did change the design of a lot of those characters, but you can probably look through the hero and villain library that Unmasked has, the DC library of characters, and amongst those heroes and villains, there has to be a character that has the spiky shoulder pads, and that's actually a library you can look through. You don't just have to have knowledge of these characters in general. You can actually look through the pages and pages of characters to find one. One that will fit to your liking, of course, we got a Manticore, the piece of the tail that has these 3 sections to it, so it's kind of like the middle of the Manticore's tail. That was for some design on the costume there, sort of near the belly, and we've got a sphere behind that and an eyebrow behind that sphere. The sphere and that eyebrow that are behind the Manticore tail piece are painted almost all the way black, but a little bit, maybe like one shade off, lighter. And we typed in Morrigan. Morrigan, while it is another female character, once again, it doesn't matter if it conveys what you want it to look like. We took the legs of Morrigan, and we can also grab that Manticore tailpiece that we used earlier, that middle tailpiece for the Manticore, and we can use those as sort of shin designs right here. They actually go pretty far up Gene Simmons' leg, but it's some more crazy armor-looking costumage. And a kobold, that starts with a K, of course, kobold. We took the head of the kobold, and those are like these dragon heads in essence. That's what they're going to convey. A kobold isn't a dragon exactly in Scribblenauts Unlimited, but it looks like the dragon heads that are on Gene Simmons' crazy platform shoes, which we've got chicken nuggets to kind of convey the bottom of the shoes, the feet down there. And we're going to type in an Allosaurus, take the tail piece that is farthest back. It looks sort of like a little pointy, almost triangular shape. We'll do that 3 times for both of the feet, so that's going to be 6 stamps in total for that, and those will be for these little spikes and stuff going down over the platform shoes that he's got. Big boots. And we've got imp wings, so if you type in that, it looks kind of like this bat wing costume that Gene Simmons has kind of beneath his arms on his back. You know, it looks like a cape or these like bat dragon wings and stuff, and so the imp wings in Scribblenauts Unlimited look really good for that. We attached both of those to each arm, and so then we went with a golf ball to be the start of the hands, but then we're going to have fingerless gloves because Gene Simmons does sort of have these gloves where his fingers can poke through, and so the fingerless glove in Scribblenauts Unlimited sort of looks good for Scribblenauts characters because they often don't have a lot of detail, if any at all, depending on which human or humanoid character you type in. You know, you often don't see hands in this game. So kind of a good way to mix realism, but also in Scribblenauts Unlimited, sort of use their styles. And so Gene Simmons, of course, being nicknamed the Demon, I just made that his source audio was Demon, but we'll have characters react to him as a rocker. You could do Rockstar or Rocker. Now, under the behavior tab for all of these characters, I'm checking off the circle that says this object inherits the source object's behaviors. I usually don't like to do that, you know, often if you're especially starting with a 5th cell member, but sometimes humans and humanoids as well. You don't really want those behaviors messing with your scripts and things like that. They may have certain characteristics that you don't want. So anyway, we've got a head as the source object. To make Gene Simmons' head now, we're going to shrink down that head a little bit so we can have this golden egg covering it without really needing to increase or decrease the size of the golden egg. And then I'm going to go with a pom-pom, and the golden egg, of course, was painted all white for the face paint and stuff, and so the pom-poms are going to be on both sides of the golden egg, either side, for some hair. Of course, paint it black, and then the top of his hair is kind of all back, almost like this bun. He kind of has a poof of hair and stuff up on the top, and so the road hump is going to start that out, but then we'll use a third pom-pom for the hair up on the top of his head, and we've got a cone. You can either grab that again from the geometry library if you're playing in Scribblenauts Unlimited, but in Unmasked you'll need to type in cone for the shape, and put that there down below the road hump on the forehead for some of that makeup. And we got a nose for the nose, of course, a mouth for the mouth. You often don't do this if you follow my designs. As you guys know, I often use crazy things to convey stamps, but the reason that I actually use the mouth for the mouth is because I liked the way that when you type in mouth in Scribblenauts, it's open just enough that we can then type in tongue and have this crazy Gene Simmons tongue. We're going to do the famous thing that he does, which is stick out his tongue as he's playing for some of the songs when he's live. I can't wait to see that myself. And Goldfish, we took the bottom fin for that. For the eyes, once again, we're probably going to do that for each of the characters, so expect that. That's the kind of main parts of the eyes, the white. And Kraken, we can grab just almost at the very end of the tentacles, but one step before that. So in essence, it's kind of like the end middle tentacle piece of the Kraken. Any side, you can grab it from any of them. Paint it all the way black to make some of these spiky looking face paint parts there above the eyes. And Fang we did for the sides of the eyes, so of course layer all this behind those goldfish fins. And so we can type in catfish and grab that side fin kind of in the front, paint it all the way black, put it sort of with these Kraken tentacle pieces and stuff. It's kind of coming down in a triangular form almost. And so we've got hair to be these 3 kind of points underneath the eyes. And so hair is a good kind of one stamp that we can use to get many different details. And Fang on both sides, once again, make the Fang kind of be curving with the curve of the Kraken tentacle pieces. PEA, of course, spells out P. Once again, we can use that for the eyes here for Gene Simmons. That's going to be it for the stamp space on the head right here. So that looks good. I think that this is great. I do like how that's turning out. And so, of course, just as a reminder, go into the equipment tab for the headpiece, script it to fill in the circle that says can be worn on the face like glasses. Then we'll move on. We'll go ahead and start off with a supermodel as the next source object. This is going to be for Eric Singer, the drummer, current drummer, I should say. And we've got I mainly chose the male supermodel as the source object for the open jacket right here, or open shirt. And so we're going to keep the legs, but you can take off all the other pieces and keep the torso, obviously, because you can't get rid of that. And we'll type in heels. We can take the heels and actually double up on those because we want black heels for the start of it, but then his shoes also have kind of a metallic-y looking silver heel piece underneath that. a dot I did for the side of the legs to show that his skin, actually, he has these kind of circles in the pants that do show his skin through that. Jellyfish upper tentacle pieces, once again, they're going to be these strings that are kind of crisscrossing. You can kind of convey this shape with 4 jellyfish upper tentacle pieces. They're just these black lines. And again, those strings crisscross through, so have 2 that are parallel to each other, diagonally going down, and then another 2 going the opposite direction, diagonally down. So if you type in Rockstar, we took the arms of the Rockstar, the male Rockstar, both the front and the back, and made those the front and back arms of our Eric Singer here. I took a 29-page library arm shape. It's the mutant arm from the 10th page. So if you want to just type in mutant, like if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, for example, you can grab the back arm of that, and that's for this sweatband or bandana tie, basically, around his bicep there on that back arm. And so we can type in dagger tooth and take the middle body piece of the dagger tooth. Now, depending on what part of the world you're in, you either will call this a nudibranch or nudibranch, and there's probably other pronunciations and stuff, but basically we want to grab that. It's like the sea slug looking thing. We can grab the slightly wider antenna piece right there, the one that's slightly on the left side of the nudibranch's head. And a golf ball, we'll type in that next. The golf ball's actually, we're going to paint it red first, and we'll put it here on both sides of the shirt being opened right there, kind of near his chest, and then we'll do another golf ball. So this is going to take 4 stamps total. Go grab this pattern on the bottom middle on the 21st page for the color pattern library or texture library. That's if you press that paintbrush icon there in the bottom middle of the screen. You can then do these kind of, it's got like a button then on your left side panel that you can click or tap, and it opens up these patterns or textures that you can grab from. And so we'll type in a lioness. The lioness's head is actually what we can use here, kind of the belt buckle, I guess you could say, in the middle of the belt has that design. He is the cat man, after all. That cat imagery is sort of infused into his costume with that belt piece. And so then we can go on the 23rd page, once again, grab that troglodyte back arm. If you're in Unmasked, just type in troglodyte and grab the back arm. That'll be for the heel on those heels, and we're looking good. Basically, largely getting to our stamp limit here. We can just edit some properties real fast. We're doing most of the properties the same for these characters, or at least within 1 or 2 kind of statistics, just making them all, whenever they lose or gain health, they become brave. That's in case you want to make them fight or something. They won't run away from any battles. They'll be brave. We started off with a head as the source object. Now to create Eric Singer's head, we'll go with a bailiff, the female bailiff. Again, using female limbs or stamps is okay, even if you're creating a male character or vice versa. We're going to go with the bottom middle tail piece of a scorpion right here, and that's going to be for this, we'll paint it a silvery kind of color for the nose. On the end of his nose makeup, he's got this silvery color, metallic looking. Lips, we painted those red. Of course, the lips on the mouth for Gene Simmons, you probably noticed, they were black. We painted those black. And so I'm going with those jellyfish upper tentacle pieces, once again, just a black line. Make it pretty much as small as you can, because we want those to be this, like, with that cat theme to his makeup. He sort of has this, like, cat mouth. So in between the mouth and the nose, there's those little lines. And we went with minus signs for those whisker-looking face paint pieces there on the cheeks. And so I'm going to type in tiger shark, and we can grab the back fin of the tiger shark after that, and we'll place that, make it pretty small, maybe even as small as it can go. Put that over the little eye dots that were on the bailiff head. We'll type in hatchet fish and grab that huge fin right there for the hatchet fish in the front side, basically. And we're going to make that be black and put it behind those tiger shark fin pieces. Nursery fish, we can grab the end tail fin right there, and we're going to put that sort of in the corner of the eye makeup and everything. That's for these 2 little black pieces to get that face paint design. It's looking good. It's all coming together. Goldfish, bottom fin, once again, to be the eyes, or at least the bulk of the eyes right there. A PEA, of course. We've got that to be for the color of the eyes, the iris, and then a pimple is going to be for the pupil, the little black dot there in the eye. And I'm going to double up on that nose makeup. I'll get another scorpion tail piece. You can just copy the one that we have down right there. Make it a little bit bigger and put it behind and all the way black. That's to make for a thicker black outline. I know that the scorpion tail piece already kind of has a thick black outline to it, but this will make it even more pronounced, which is good. I feel that looks a little bit more accurate. A hazmat worker is going to be for our second to last object piece that we're creating, but it is our last character now. The cowgirl is what we're going to take after removing all of the hazmat worker's limbs limbs and the head and all of that stuff. So the Cowgirl, we can take the front and back legs of the Cowgirl. That's going to be good starting leg pieces for our character right here, which is Tommy Thayer. Eric Singer was their drummer, the last character that we did, the previous. And so this is, like you could say, their lead guitarist. Cerberus is what we've typed in next. It's that three-headed dog. We can grab that foot, basically, you know, the leg piece that is down, the bottom leg piece and stuff. I did the leg piece that's all the way to our right. You know, if we kind of point to the right, it's that leg piece or foot of the Cerberus. 29-page library. Once again, on the third page, bottom left corner, there's this kind of semi-fat looking arm right there. It's actually for a vegetarian. Give it kind of any little color pattern that doesn't make it just solid white or gray or anything, and then paint it gray over that. And then I'm going with a barbarian, and we can take the female barbarian, both the front and back arms like that, and paint those accordingly. Kind of have that, I chose them actually because they do have that metal looking armor guarding the wrist and the cuff, you know, so those armbands were a huge part of it. I'm going to type in a hammerhead shark after this, and we're going to go on the color pattern library again for those textures, and we'll scroll over to the 14th page, second to the bottom. That row on the left side has this pattern that has some lines to it, and we're going to try to paint over that gray, but they don't go all the way kind of neutral gray or anything. They're going to have like a beige tint to them. That's fine, but it's not fully the exact color of Tommy Thayer's chest/shoulder pads, I guess, but that's okay. We're going to go with a triangle next. Again, type it in if you're in Unmasked. Grab it from the geometry library if you want to in Scribblenauts Unlimited. And of course, he's got this huge armor design costume that goes sort of from the chest down almost to the bottom of that belt, basically. So that's looking good. Then we went with a cone and painted that black, the cone shape. Put that over the triangle in layer order, but it looks good, pointing in the same direction. I went with a spiderfish this time, the top fin of the spiderfish, and that dorsal fin can actually be these little designs in the belt right here. Paint them all the way black. Looks good. We're gonna go with another cone after that, and it's okay that these hammerhead shark shoulder pad pieces in the chest plate is going kind of above those arms. We want that. We want the arms to be below that, because basically, in essence, the arms are underneath those pieces of the costume, and so with that, we did the cone amidst that to be some of his skin near his chest and neck and whatnot, so that looks good. A barracuda, we can take the end tail piece of the barracuda, the tail fin, 3 times. They were rotated 90 degrees, put over the chest, over that cone piece that's on the chest, and then we're going to type in chimera fish and grab the back tail fin of that, paint it black, and put that over the barracuda tail fins then. And so that's going to be very close to finishing once we've got that 3 times, of course, over each one of those barracuda tail fins and stuff. And so I'm just doing some last minute sizing and then some last minute scripting. We'll go ahead and have characters react to this object as a guitarist. Makes sense, huh? So under the behavior, this is something to include for each character. I just did that they use musical instruments. So if you type in, you know, add a new behavior, that big green button, then you can just do use, and the next piece will be musical instruments, because you do have to have general categories. Otherwise, I would love to make it, you know, be that the drummer uses drums or the guitarist just uses guitars, stuff like that. So again, here's what that property scripting looks like under the behavior tab. Just look at the screen right now to see that real fast. So we'll go ahead and now get the last piece of the puzzle here, and all of our KISS members will be done. I went with, for Tommy Thayer's head, of course, you can start off with the head as the source object, but then put Nicole Godfrey, or is it Godfrey, one of the 5th Cell members. You saw how to spell it on screen. Her head is the main part. Of course, paint the face white, hair all the way black, and we're gonna go with grass. Then the grass will be the main part of this spaceman kind of face paint right here. He's got some really cool face paint, I feel. And so that grass actually, of course, one kind of points to the left, our left, and then the other to the right, if that makes sense. And so then we've got a minus sign, and that minus sign will go in between those grass pieces, and it's gonna be in line with the eyes. So of course, you probably can see that. We'll get to that in a second, but we're going to type in a nose. Of course, that's for the nose. It's probably obvious by this point. And we went with lips for the lips. That's also probably obvious, but we can paint these lips black this time. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. So after that, we're going to go with the goldfish and the bottom fin. Again, this is going to be the last time I have to say that this episode, I think. And so that will be now just right here where I'm kind of putting this stamp over to show you and illustrate where those pieces of the eye are. Pretty self-explanatory though. And we went with PEA. Once again, that's the little P right there. That's for the color of the eyes, the iris. Pimple is not only the pupil, but also a little shine or glimmer on both sides, one on each eye. And so that all looks good. Of course, if you move these lips down, you can see that there are these two black pieces of face paint right there. Those were actually, once again, using that spiderfish upper fin piece, the dorsal fin of that spiderfish, and rotated a little bit so that that point of it is pointing up, because he does have some makeup there above the lips, making these two kind of points. And that's done it. So there is our full lineup of the members right here. I love how this turned out. But again, as I mentioned before, we usually pick whatever's most popular, most requested each week. So, you can still leave your comments and everything. We will still be doing that. I just had to depart this one episode. Sometimes that happens, and I'm sorry. Again, it's better that I uploaded something instead of uploading nothing. But we'll basically tally what was scored from last week, from that episode, and we'll tally in this week's votes and kind of have 2 weeks worth of voting to determine what's most popular, most requested. I upload every Sunday, so look for the next episode of this series then. But I do just want to say really fast before we leave, I am going to have the Nintendo Switch on launch day, assuming nothing goes wrong. Knock on wood. But of course, Nintendo's new console, it's going to be incredible. I'm going to do some live streams. I'm going to do some videos. So I really do. It would really mean a lot to me if you guys would tune in and see those. We're going to try to stream Breath of the Wild. We're going to play whatever I've got and just have fun with the new system. Otherwise, you guys are amazing. I hope you still enjoyed this episode, given the circumstances, and I will catch all of you on the next vid. And thanks for viewing.
Down the road up with